Tigers finish up their journey through the Carolinas with a trip to the College of Charleston. We'll talk about it with head coach Diane Richardson coming up on today's edition of the Tiger Basketball Report. Hello again and welcome back to the Tiger Basketball Report. I'm your host, Ben Rosenbaum. Towson playing their second game of 2 on the road this week against the College of Charleston Cougars. And to talk about it, I'm joined as always by head coach Diane Richardson. Coach, welcome back.
Thank you.
So this is the tail end of a long journey, long road trip. Fatigue can set in. It seems though that the team's enjoying being around each other, and especially when things are going well, that this is a very high energy. We've seen, especially Coach Cantor at practice, really keeps the energy up.
Right.
How important is that going to be going into this last game on this road trip against Charleston?
Yeah, and you're right. It's a long trip, a lot of travel time that will be in the trains, planes, and automobiles, but we've got to be prepared and preparing this week for this long stretch and understanding that it could be a long ride, it could be a long trip, and especially with injuries.
Yep. The Cougars, they're 1-5 in the conference. You're their only victory, and that was a ways ago. They're on a 4-game losing streak. Have you seen anything in film that has showed why all of a sudden this team can't just get it right all of a sudden in conference play?
Yeah, and just looking at them again since they've played at our place, I think they're still trying to get their mojo.
Yep.
And it's still working on some things.
And the game against you, an 80-67 victory for the Cougars here inside CQ Arena. And I was saying to you just before we started, that was one of those games where if you looked at our schedule, that William and Mary game, right before that any games before that, they were kind of these big losses or not close games. And
right.
It seems like now, though, the team is bought in. Mm-hmm. What did it feel like for you to see, especially, I guess, at that William and Mary game where now this team has bought in, it clicked finally?
Right. And it was good to see that, and you're absolutely right. Early on, the early games, the College of Charleston game, we were still trying to find out. We were messing around with our starting lineups and times, minutes played for some of the players. And I think we did get that right, and they started to mesh and started to go with the goals that we set for them.
In that game, Mary scores 21 points, Nikaya and Rain each score 17, but then only 4 other Tigers score, and no one scores more than 4. Right. We've talked about your depth before, obviously the injury problems right now, but how important is a Danny Durgin going to be in this game, or anybody coming off the bench, a Tess Borges perhaps, and that you're going to need to get something from them?
Right, and we've talked about that. One of the stats, obviously, at the end of the game is bench players and how much they've scored on both teams, and we have to reiterate that with our team and let them know that when you're out there, we're expecting some productivity. Also
in that first game, it just seemed like so many things went wrong in that game against Charleston. 2 for 20 from 3-point range. At one point, do you want them to shoot through something like that? Or at one point do you say, hey, they're not falling tonight, let's try to go inside, let's try to drive and kick or get mid-range jumpers?
Yeah, well, they haven't fallen all season. And one of the things when I came in, I said that everybody's going to be a scorer. And what I don't want, now that they've bought in, what I don't want to do is stifle them and having the feeling like, oh, I can't shoot. So, they haven't been able to differentiate between threes and good shots. So, we'll work on some percentages. Some of them will realize now that, okay, I'm 2 for 20 and I better chill out a little bit. But, somebody like Danny Durgin who shoots the ball well when she's on, we want her to be able to continue and work through that.
You're playing Charleston for the second time now. How is it different preparing for a team the second time than it is the first time? How do you prepare differently? Do you change a lot of what you did, or do you try to still keep it relatively similar?
Well, we try to keep it similar, but we look at what they did to us before and, and what we did to them and try to build upon that.
All right. The Tigers and the Cougars will tip off at 2 o'clock in Charleston on January 21st. Make sure to go over to TowsonTigers.com to figure out how to follow all the action. Coach, thanks for joining us this week, and good luck.
Thank you so much.
For head coach Diane Richardson, I'm Ben Rosenbaum. Thanks for joining us, and as always, go Tigers.